Hey everybody, let's talk about a few things. So the shortest version of this is I moved out here after coming out of jail at the end of last February, not this previous February, but 2025. I came out here trying to find a job. I had a record. We can talk about that at another time, but it's kind of all fucked up. And I was trying to get back into the tech industry. Obviously, AI has changed some things a bit, but I do have felonies on my record, and that has made it extremely hard to find work. Well, last year I've been building this trunk thing, which ended up becoming TownOS. And the whole point of it was to kind of free people from, I don't know, cloud stuff, because there's a lot of stuff, as many of us know, that goes on behind the cloud where you don't see it. You may not be aware that pretty much everything you delete on the internet is actually just hidden from you. It is not actually deleted. And I think most of us know that at this point, but a lot of us didn't a long time ago when we shared pictures of ourselves and children on places like Facebook and Instagram, right? So this is kind of where things get a little weird. I started having auditory hallucinations after I started working with some therapists at Saucil Creek. They were given to me by somebody in the Placer County Mental Health Department, which I called, trying to get access to mental health services out here because I am bipolar. Now let's explain bipolar disorder just really briefly so everyone understands. First off, bipolar people don't fucking hear voices. Okay, let's start right there because that's really important. They gave me a drug called Caplyta to replace something else called Latuda. Right? Latuda was really stressing me out. The Caplyta actually really changed my brain chemistry in some way. I really don't understand what was going on. Right? I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is the thing. I'm 47 years old and I have never experienced this shit in my life before. What the fuck is going on? Right? Well, my roommate, who has been my friend for a very long time, said, oh, wow, bipolar people hear voices. I'm like, that's new. Do I have schizophrenia? Oh, shit. No, I don't. Because I've been told a million times by actual school doctors that no, you don't. This is where it gets really crazy. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is a real thing. Maybe I should just learn to deal with it. And that's when it got more and more intense. And not only that, but my roommate and a bunch of people that I was working with on a project called Alilo started getting really weird. And that's because they were related to another group, which is much larger, called DWeb, and they are all related to a certain magnate in the tech community, and his name is Tim Berners-Lee. Tim Berners-Lee designed the web. He is also on the board of Proton Mail, which, as many of you know, is a security-first service. Proton is moving from Switzerland to Germany because Switzerland changed its privacy laws. So this background is kind of really important because the next DWeb camp is in Berlin, right? That makes sense, right? They're kind of supporting that, right? Some of my friends worked at the Internet Archive, and some of these folks worked in DWeb. And suddenly I started getting really crazy anxious about my own safety and security, and that's because my roommate's like, hey, I'm going to drop you on your ass and leave you alone, and you're going to figure out how to get some stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I haven't been able to find a job. It's like, oh, well, you can do this. You can pick up trash. I've been a software engineer for 25 years. I have a lot of experience. Why the hell can't I find a job? Oh, I have felonies, and that's why we're going to talk for a couple of seconds about FedRAMP. FedRAMP is a government program that literally says you cannot work for this company if you have a criminal record. How does that work again? So let me spell this out. Yeah, banks. Oh shit. Well, yeah, I didn't get convicted for embezzling. Why the fuck would it matter? Right? Security work, I get that a little more, right? That makes sense. But every company right now, let's be really blunt about it, is sucking the government's dick because there's an orange guy that kind of likes it when people do that. So, you might see my problem. Pretty much everybody is a federal contractor right now, right? And that means I can't get hired. I'm like, shit, well, I will just try to find anything I can in the software industry, right? And I went through a bunch of places. And the problem is that a number of these places, I was walking in the door knowing, yeah, I'm not going to get this job, right? And that's where the fair chance ordinance actually does not work. Because those people are literally walking in going, okay, tell us you have a felony at the end. It doesn't fucking matter because we're going to write that on the paper and we're going to send you home and you're going to have a nice day. Now, other companies are saying, well, crap, we know we're going to be a federal contractor eventually. And I have had that problem too. The problem there is they literally can't say no. But a couple of times when they did, I looked into it. I talked to civil rights organizations. I talked to local lawyers. Like, yeah, we're gonna fine them $250. So, just I'm not trying to be conceited. I'm not trying to be a shitbird or anything like that. But right now, my salary yesterday was something like, I don't know, like $300 an hour. Okay? If they can pay me that much, $250 really doesn't matter much, does it? And there's a scale, right? It happens a number of times. You got to think about it. There probably aren't a ton of software engineers with criminal records, right? That makes sense. So, let's look at this from another angle. What if a bunch of companies said, wow, this guy really knows his shit, and said, oh, he's got a criminal record, or he doesn't want to submit to a background check early because that's fucking illegal in California. And I said, okay, well, that is actually kind of fucking illegal. No, you don't get a job. And yeah, we have tons of corporate lawyers with tons of money. And then I started putting it together, right? I've been applying for jobs all year and I'm getting no responses, right? I'm getting responses from, honestly, companies. I'm like, how are you making money? And that's because they are. And I got through an interview. I'm not even going to name them. You can figure it out yourself. I got through an interview with the company. I literally just said whatever the hell I wanted. It's like, okay, what's going on here, right? They're like, read the paper. Tell us what you see. And I'm like, are you actually asking me to just read this back to you? Like, yeah, more or less, yeah. Like, okay. Oh yeah, and our actual company name is another company name, and we're going to give you a bunch of stock, but we're not going to list it on your offer letter. And this huge project I've been working on this whole time is not protected under intellectual property laws. And I'm like, okay, well, it's free. You can't actually do anything about it. Can you at least give me the exception? Oh yeah, we'll fix that. And then they told me all about this stock incentive program that was going to vest on the first. Well, I never heard about that again. Ever. I'm like, where are my insurance cards? They told me it was here. Oh, well, you got to do this. Well, I have a busted ankle. I've been limping around for the last couple of weeks in the Adams Point area. You might have seen me. I was on crutches at one point. I had a boot. Now, for some reason, Sutter Health on 30th Street doesn't have any records of that. I sat in there. I actually got checked twice. I was in Berkeley. I got checked for a DVT. They have no records. So, let me wind this back. I'm suddenly hearing a lot of weird shit that I don't understand. I have a history of getting denied employment for having a criminal record, and nobody is responding to any of my job applications. And then I had a couple of very intense nervous breakdowns because of the Caplyta I was taking. And I was like, okay, maybe something else is going on here. But every night I was sitting in this room, not this room, I was sitting in a room at 316 Oakland Avenue. And if you go and you look in the backyard and you look up at the building on the left side, there are a ton of windows. And that was the only place I had personal privacy. But as you could probably tell, if you went over there at night, you can see everything that's going on. And that's when I started realizing, hey, okay, some people are really seeing what's going on, and I'm an old dude, and I'm doing old dude shit because I'm a single old dude who doesn't want to play the field. You probably figure this out. So some people kind of mentioned it. I'm like, oh shit, is there a camera in my room? How the fuck are they seeing me? Right? And my roommate's like, oh, I don't know. Right? I'm like, okay, well, let's close everything down. Let's shut everything down. Let's block everything out. Let's do what we can. And he's been living there for 4 years, right? So I start hearing these voices. And this was a little before the Caplyta stuff, right? And yeah, so it's like, what the hell am I hearing? So I actually went to the back. I went all the way to the back and I popped open both of the windows and I said, hey, Chris, can you say something? And I didn't hear him. He said something. I didn't hear him. And the whole time this has been going on, this is what I was worried about. Somebody was actually yelling about shit I was saying in my apartment, right? That actually makes sense. And it was like, okay, wow, I feel like shit. I did a bunch of stupid shit. I was really arrogant because I felt unsafe. Okay, it's kind of a thing. Like, if somebody was staring at you all fucking day and you knew it, and you're like, hey, I just want some peace and quiet, I just want some privacy, you might have a lot of trouble staying sane. So let's add this all up again. My roommate did not somehow indicate to me that it was extremely easy to hear from where I was. And you can probably tell my voice is a little loud. And his voice is pretty loud too. So when I started hearing people in the back patio just having a chat over whatever, lunch or whatever, I'm like, okay, this is fucking weird. But the other thing is that when I actually had him do that test, I realized that the blinds did not actually cover anything, and that's because I don't go in the backyard and stare at my window all the time. But other people live in the area, and they do that. Okay? And I didn't know that. And that's when I started seeing a therapist at Saucil Creek who suggested a medication change to Caplyta. I said, okay, that's probably a good idea because the Latuda is not working out. And that's when shit got extremely weird, like I mentioned. And fast forward a couple of months, right? My roommate is absolutely, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. He's a smelly guy to begin with, but he's like shitting his pants in his seat. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? He is literally trying to push me away from him. I'm like, wow, I have done everything for this guy. He had a 23-year-old dude hanging out with his 15-year-old daughter. And his 15-year-old daughter's like, get the fuck out. And he's like, no, he can stay. So I got in the fucking car and I drove over there. And I got that guy the fuck out. I took him to the Oakland airport and I said, get on there. I said, get in the fucking lane. I said, I'm not leaving until you cross the border. All right? I've given this guy a ton of money. And guess who his best friend is? Well, I'm going to tell you. His name is Day Waterbury. And I think everyone should know that Day Waterbury hangs out at Mellow Mellow all the time. Okay. Day Waterbury was also a big catalyst in this whole project called Alilo, which is like this networked adaptive organ. I don't fucking know. It's some tech bro shit, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, I need money, right? That's kind of how it works. Everybody understands that. I'm like, okay, I'll do some work for you, right? He's like, okay, well, you can do this, and you get these participation. Oh, what the hell is this? It's not stock, right? It's not stock. It's, I don't know, some of you might appreciate that, like 30 years ago, there was this whole thing around trade dollars. It was basically a secondary currency, right? And in many ways, Bitcoin is very similar. And that's where it gets really weird, right? Because he had to go over to Spain to pitch this project. And I found out he was pitching my project, and I kind of lost it. Yeah, I wasn't like, what? Why didn't you tell me about this? Anyways, this is where all of the signal groups around DWeb literally got rotated about 15 fucking times as he was like trying to move this group over here and this group. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, hey, this project is actually kind of getting somewhere. Can I start showing it to people? Can I start building a community? And Day is totally in there saying, oh, I'm going to make this as hard as possible. I'm going to make fun of you. I'm going to insult you. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Right? So then I go to DWeb to demo the product. And I'm in a car with my friend, who is a big friend of Day Waterbury, and Kalia Young, who is the identity woman. She's a huge deal around here, apparently, because she tells everybody that. And, God, this is where it gets weird. They're all kind of staring me in the face and saying, you need to go to a recovery house. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I go to the thing, and I see them give a demo of a project that is eerily similar to what I have already been building. And yes, my friend who worked on the project a little bit, I actually ended up cutting him off because he didn't get the job done. He's like, oh yeah, that's cool. And did you look at that? Did you look at that? Did you think about that? Did you blah, blah, blah? I'm like, okay, well, am I just being told that somebody's literally just reading my source code and replacing me? Kind of. And that's when I kind of said, well, okay, we are going to just do this faster than them. And there are a few people on this planet that know that I can kind of do that. That's kind of my thing. So I did that. And it was released a couple of days ago. It's called TownOS. I have talked about it a lot, and I'm not asking you to just like look it up right now, but the whole thing is about literally getting you completely off of this piece of garbage. Because this piece of garbage has a ton of spyware in it that you absolutely pay for every time you turn on this thing. Because guess what it does? You see that? You see that? You see that blink? It's actually taking a fucking picture right now. So, you might understand how facial recognition has actually really exploded recently. And that's when I started seeing a bunch of people with dogs in the area. Fuck, what the fuck is going on? Is this some weird skit or play? And one of my neighbors, it was almost like they were almost documenting my position. And I'm like, oh, this is fucking weird, all right? And all of my neighbors had giant dogs. I'm like, okay, what is this about? Did I do something here? They're all kind of creeping on me. I'm like, okay, wow, I really pissed somebody off. So I started like, hey, what can I do to fucking fix this? All right? And that's when I started saying to my friend, hey, what can I do to fix this? Oh, well, shit, we could start a fundraiser for Trunk. And I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, let's do it. And everybody kept saying, well, your friend is who we're funding. I'm like, what the fuck is this about, right? I built all the damn software. That's where it started getting really insane, and I started to understand, or at least piece together, why there might be a ton of dogs in the neighborhood. And that's because somebody was literally harassing me so much in that backyard that I was losing myself. Insane. So many times a week that, yeah, it probably was a huge issue. Now, I did come to discover that there were two people in the apartment. One was named Ian and the other was named Blue. Now, Blue is obviously a pseudonym, but it's important to understand that I don't really know that much else about them because I didn't want to. Okay, so that's about January or so, right? We covered the rent, everybody was cool, Chris wasn't gonna get it. Oh, yeah, that's his name, Chris. Wasn't gonna get evicted, right? That was kind of the whole thing, like, hey dude, I don't want you to get evicted. I need to actually be able to stay here and kind of be safe. And I think there are a lot of people that have recently been unhoused over this COVID shit or the tech whatever, and I get it, like, it's fucked, okay? And so I'm like, well, shit, I need to contest residency, don't I? And that's when it got really crazy because on Valentine's Day, I laid down. My roommate had already moved to Eugene. I laid down on my bed and I swear to God, I heard a bunch of people saying, I'm Dave Waterbury and I'm fucking your wife and blah, blah, blah. I'm this guy and I'm fucking your wife and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So I go out of my room and I go downstairs and I'm like, oh, well, obviously somebody knows all these fucking people, right? I knock on the door. I'm like, hey, what the fuck's up? I'm staring literally eye to eye with a woman who's holding two fingers in her fucking pocket or a short pistol. Kind of saying, hey, this is gonna fucking happen and you're gonna fucking deal with it. And that's when I called 988. I said, what the fuck do I do? And they said, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm hearing a bunch of shit that sounds like sex in the fucking background. And that was kind of the thing. As my roommate slowly departed, I slowly lost my connection, briefly, with something called what the fuck is going on, or reality. And as many of you psychologists know, that is a very bad place to be. And there is a reason I am specifically speaking to psychologists. To continue, at that point, my roommate was calling me, and it was almost like he had a smile on his face because he was getting a fucking blowjob and he was having an orgasm every time I fucking said something or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck? And he's up there. I'm like, is this really real? Am I really experiencing this? And he's like, yeah, I'm up here. Blah, blah. And then I was like, okay, well, wow, okay, I need to call my family and get to safety. What? I have really stepped in it here, haven't I? So I call my mother. And my mother is answering the phone. She's wearing a pair of glasses that I know my mother would never wear. And the room is exactly, bit for bit, and that's an important detail, exactly like the room that I did a video chat with her in Placer County. Because they do have those. And they make you go through a ton of shit and install a ton of software on your computer to do a video chat with an inmate. Okay, that's where it gets kind of weird, right? She doesn't have she has the wrong glasses. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? This is really off. And I did. I ended up calling her a number of more times, but I was always getting her voicemail because her and I do not get along very well. And yeah, I had her blocked for a while. I definitely said some shit that encouraged her to block me. That's a whole different subject. But I was like, hey mom, like, I need help, right? Yes, I am a 47-year-old man that actually needs help. Okay? And she kept pushing me off. And then I called my father. And I was like, wow, he is really quiet, like way more quiet than my father ever is. And then my brother called me. And there was this whole thing because my brother actually has been an abusive person towards his children a few times. I'm not really proud of it, and I really hope he fixes it. But there was this whole thing about that. I was freaked out, so I called my mother, and I'm like, hey, I can't help here. I'm really scared for these kids. And she's like, you don't have to worry about it. Are you fucking kidding me? My kid literally said to me on the phone, this is extremely important. The kid said to me on the phone, I can take care of myself. Now, I know that boy is 11. I also know that my brother and I can fucking scrap. And that scared the shit out of me. And hearing my mom come back with this, okay, yeah, I am furious. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go up there and fix this. And that's when I get another call from my brother. And that was, again, the thing. All of my family members were completely fucking unavailable when I called them. But if I sent them a text message, I would get a call. And the whole time I have been here, my phone has not been able to stay attached to any fucking cell tower. Are you starting to see this? Because you may not be technical enough to see this, but there is somebody that can explain this to you. It's basic, okay? When you fuck with the police, they can pretty much do anything they want to this thing. Now, this is really important. There is a huge mass surveillance program called Flock that is coming out, and they are really trying to get it out there, aren't they? What if they already have it out there? What if shit like this helps them do shit like that? And you might understand why there are a ton of people in Oakland right now wearing sunglasses, really, really dark sunglasses, COVID masks, and hats. Let's, again, go back. You may want to rewind this just so all the details are here. I'm not trying to be condescending. I just want to make sure that somebody gets all of this. This is when I started hearing a bunch of shit about my ex-wife. And oh yeah, this is the Placer County Sheriff's Department. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Are they really hazing me? Are they really coming back for, well, whatever, right? So I'd encourage you. My name is Eric Hollinsby, and I would encourage you, if you are an attorney, to look at all, and I do mean all, of the minutes in the case proceeding, and you will completely understand that I am not crazy. So, let's go back to Mr. Day Waterbury and his little project. See, Day has been trying to tell me for like the last 9 months that he met some girl that was 35 years old out in Sacramento. Guess where my ex-wife lives? Right? You get it, right? I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to make that connection because that doesn't, well, he's my friend, right? And he's my friend's friend, right? Like, why the fuck would they, what? They know what she put me through. I'm literally sitting here destitute because they know what she's put me through. Right? So let me just recap here. Dave Waterbury is literally doing a tax scam in Spain based on my project. And that's exactly what it fucking was. So he could dump a bunch of Bitcoin. And a lot of people that have Bitcoin now really understand what I'm talking about. Because my ex-wife is Chinese. I love Chinese culture. I love Chinese people. I wanted to learn Chinese to communicate with my daughter, who I haven't seen in 4 years. Because every time I try, I get hit with a wave of bullshit. And this is kind of where it all starts to come together. I get hit with a wave of legal bullshit so fucking thick that the only way it would pass muster is if somebody was really fucking corrupt. And it actually turns out that there's a man named Dan Kukul out in Placer County that literally is the puppet master for all the public defenders out there. That's how it works out there. You call Dan Kukul, and Dan Kukul hires whoever he fucking wants to represent you. And you don't get a choice. And that's why there is a law called Marsden. And I have executed and failed to execute Marsden hearings about 7 or 8 times to get these corrupt pieces of shit out of my lap. One of them actually said, oh, he's clearly fucking insane. Let's sit him in here for another 4 months and have him go through 3 psychiatrists before one psychiatrist actually says, wow, okay, yeah, I see what's going on. Because when I was ready to walk out the door, wow, my sentence was literally completed to the day. They held me in there, and I fought them until my sentence was completely done. Over an email, 2 years and 8 months. Over an email about my cousin, which I will not mention because I get fucked every time I do. So you can look her up. Her first name is Sarah. So let's explain how the restraining order got into place, because this is all going to come together in a second. That restraining order is from my cousin, who literally dug up 5 years of bullshit. And my aunt literally walked in the fucking door and said, I want a restraining order. I'm like, okay, yeah, you can have it, okay? That's literally what I fucking said. Because I didn't go. I didn't even show up. And you might understand that I was really, really, really upset right after I got denied a job in San Francisco at a company named Crusoe, who I was totally qualified to work for, because they ran me through it all. And I ended up getting told, yeah, they're only going to get fined $250. And then on top of that, I had a ton of shit going on with my divorce. Right? She was trying to make it impossible for me to see my daughter, and I had been fighting for a year just to get on a Zoom chat with her. And then suddenly, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't. Well, I'm like, hold up, that's not how it works. She's like, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't. Oh, I'm going to send this all to your probation officer. And my probation officer literally looked at me and said, wow, that's bullshit. And then a week later, I go to divorce court. And who is it? It's Suzanne Gazaniga, the person who actually put me in jail the first time because she ruled in my criminal case. And now she's suddenly here in divorce court, and I'm like, oh boy, I am not fucking getting near that. And I did raise hell. And I went out to the bathroom, and I took a piss, and I came back in, and they, oh, we just gave you the default judgment. Have a nice day. And that is when I ran a little program called Vote Placer Judges Out, where I literally detailed a lot of this, including things like the the prosecutor, Tara Crable, literally saying, all I do is win, in an email where we were having heated exchanges every day. She said, all I do is win by DJ Khaled. I was like kind of mocking my ex-wife, saying, all I do is win, right? If you know the lyrics to that song, is not violent or anything, right? It's not like I'm saying I'm going to kill you or anything. She literally said to the judge, oh yeah, he linked a rap song. And Eugene Genie Jr., the judge who was ruling at the time, said, oh fuck yeah, let's give him a restraining order. Now we are in Oakland. And yes, I am a pasty old white man, but you should be pissed off about that. Now, Tara Crable has really, really fucked with a lot of people. There are a lot of people in Placer County who have had their fucking lives ruined by a little law called criminal threats, which is literally like, hey, the district attorney's going to say whatever they fucking want, and the cops are going to say whatever the fuck they want. And yeah, the judge is going to go, oh shit, let's give them 7 years. Right? A lot of people went through that. It's also a strike charge, which, thank God, strikes are not a thing anymore. Right? Somebody's turning up their music because they're upset about what they're hearing. And this is where it all comes back to a little more about why the Lark is going to have a wonderful party this weekend. And we are going to invite a bunch of homeless people to come over here and eat food. I'm going to cook it for you. So, let's wind back. Because there are a lot of details here, and you can rewind this, replay it. I know I kind of skip around a lot. So, there was a project called Funding the Commons at Frontier Tower in San Francisco. Funding the Commons was on St. Patrick's Day, or right after, if I remember. It was strange. I got invited to this group in Berkeley who was all kind of, most of these people I already knew, right? And I was going to show them the new town OS stuff I was working on, right? Because it was brand new at that time. I had rebuilt it from scratch, etc., right? And it almost seemed like everybody was making fun of me, or everybody was being overly dramatic. And you know, it's like Kalia and this other gal are like, you don't want to talk to me because of a woman. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And Julian, another guy, his name is Julian Sutter, by the way, said, oh, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Right as I walked in the door, I had spent like the last 2 hours freaking out, trying to make this as bulletproof as possible so I could show it to these people, right? And then you might understand that it got incredibly weird. Because they're like, oh, wow, that's cool. Oh, wow, that's cool. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? I'm like, well, shit, wow, they actually like it, right? And Dave's running around showing people all these other things, and these guys are like, wow, that's cool. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, I'm interested, right? I'm interested. I'm here to be interested in other people's stuff. And Dave's like, no, you can't see that. It was all kind of a thing where I was starting to figure out that Dave was kind of trying to say, I'm the master of the house. I control everything. And that's when it started to add all up, because Dave was constantly inviting me to this thing called the Men's Circle, which you can find on meetup.com. The Men's Circle is an organization that goes out into the hills of Berkeley. They also have one in Sacramento. This is really important. They go out into the hills of Berkeley. They pretty much work in complete fucking darkness, and they do a bunch of shit about people who seem to have real serious addictions to porn. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not going to do the Fight Club thing. I don't want to be here. You're starting to get it. So I'm like, okay, these guys are obviously severely emotionally damaged and they need support, and I support that, but these guys are obviously severely emotionally damaged and they may be looking for something that they're not getting. Right? So I did, and I ended up going back a few times. I'm like, maybe this is kind of a thing that might work, right? So that's when it started getting weird. I kept saying no. Another guy started talking about Charlie Kirk. These guys are running around, swapping positions, all this bullshit. And then at the last one, I was like, okay, I'm not doing this. And they're like, every time Day is saying, well, you should get loved. And I'm like, what the fuck? Right? And that's where everybody touches you on the chest or whatever. I'm like, okay, this is fucking weird. I am a very spiritual man, but I do not like organized religion. This is important. This is literally, when they touched me, this is when all of this shit started. And suddenly I'm meeting new people at these meetings every fucking time. I'm like, who is this guy? He does this. Who is this guy? He does that. Who is this guy? He does that. None of these people are software developers. And I start getting screenshots for things like CashioOS. What? He can't figure out how to install my thing, but he knows how to install CashioOS? And that's kind of a technical thing, right? It was kind of like a clear, wow, this guy is totally not being honest with me. Okay? And he's making it obvious. And then I came back to DWeb, I don't know, about 2 weeks later. And I said, wow, I got a lot of new stuff. And they're like, we don't really care. I'm like, okay, well, shit, how can I make you care? How can I make you see this, right? You know, cool. I've been trying to actually fill your needs with your personal project by actually implementing the things that you're doing in my project. And I'm trying to show you that we can all do this together. It just kind of help me out a little bit. Nobody wants to do that. And then suddenly, another guy, his name is Spencer, we'll leave it there right now. He actually runs the Oakland Mellow now, as I understand it. By the way, you should say hello. Spencer shows off his project, which is literally just kind of like one really small part of what I was working on. So I actually kind of said, hey, you know, can we work together? Can I have you help me put your thing in my thing so we all have a great thing that everybody can use? And he literally mocks masturbating. Now there's another man, Steve Ellman, who ended up funding Chris's first month of rent because that's what he told me after I said, I need help with this project. He's doing the same thing. And I'm like, are people upstairs? Are they laughing? Or what the fuck is going on? Yeah, it was recorded. Yeah, somebody was making fun of us the whole time. I'm talking to this other dude. Is he Steve Wozniak? No, he's not. He's actually a guy I met out in Roseville. Imagine that. He looks a lot like a guy I met out of Roseville. And then another guy who I had met once before at Mellow, right? He's also very interested in what I have to say. These two people are extremely interested in what I have to say. I'm like, cool, yeah. And Michael, these people are both named Michael. Michael says, have you heard about Proton moving to Germany? And Michael's pretty clued in on this stuff, right? We're having conversations, and I'm paying attention. He's like, well, we should do this all with Proton's AI. And I'm like, well, actually, you know, you might want to just be able to keep some of it to yourself. So you don't have to trust Proton. Maybe they could work together, right? You do your AI, your easy stuff locally, and then you farm it out to Claude, or you farm it out to this. Anyways. Michael's like, okay, that works, right? And then, lo and behold, while I'm having this conversation with the two Michaels, the other one's asking me about OpenID and OAuth, which, yes, again, this is all very technical, and it really is kind of tangentially relevant. That's when Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide fucking web, walks downstairs and takes a picture of all of us. I'm like, okay, there is some fucking line that was crossed that I do not understand how it got crossed. And I'm still like, okay, wow, I gotta play this, right? I have to sit here and say to myself, well, I'm gonna make the most of this. And that's when Michael and I left to go down to the train, right? I just wanted to talk to him, kind of like, hey, are you actually a part of this group or are you not? Because I was done with that group right then. I hope you guys all hear it. Anyway, Michael and I had a nice chat about a bunch of stuff about Siri. And you can look that up. And it totally explains a lot of the shit I was hearing. And that's why when somebody called me, and it was my mother, and her hand did not look like a woman's hand, and in fact it was actually disintegrating, almost like if this hand, right, had another hand, and this hand actually was not able to completely show that this hand was this hand. Now, anyone who knows a little bit about AI knows that, right? Knows that. When you move it, right, you can see it right here. When you move it, the screen cannot track it as fast as my hand is moving. That's why there is a fucking line. right? Everybody knows this. It's kind of basic. You pick it up when you're like 6 months old, right? Okay, so I am literally talking to somebody who looks like my mother, and they are making sex sounds, and they are rubbing their chin, and they are laughing, and I am fucking sitting on the porch at 316 Oakland Avenue saying, what the fuck is up? And that's when I saw on the wall a chisel crossed with an axe. It was clearly digitally rendered on the wall. And that is why you all need to understand that today I was absolutely disgusted to learn that yesterday I got fired because I didn't do shit and I needed to have a specific number of how much performance I had done. And I'm like, what the hell do I have to tell you guys to actually convince you that I'm doing work, because I have a ton of it logged. Like, oh, we're going to fire you anyway. Like, wow, that's convenient. Somebody was telling me that I was going to get fired a couple of days ago. But I wasn't at work. I was just kind of sitting here doing my thing. And that's when I started to see that a bunch of people a couple of days before who were totally saying, we got you. I'm like, okay, well, I released it. Go fuck yourself. And that's exactly when I got fired. And the reason I got fired is because a project they asked me to do a month ago that was actually developed a month ago was suddenly good enough for their solution to let me go, because I was literally working on the same thing. Now you might understand that there may be a few Town OS clones out there, and I want to emphasize that I am literally shoving my face in the middle of everybody saying, hey, this is my way of saying, come at me. I am doing this for my fucking daughter. And you might understand that if you start piecing this all together, yeah, Chris and Day have made it painfully obvious that they want nothing to do with me. And a bunch of other people have made it painfully obvious that it is almost 100% certain that anyone at Proton can read your fucking email. And you might understand also why I have been a Proton Mail user for 5 years, because Gmail is 10 million times worse. And there are a lot of people out there who need privacy, who depend on things like Proton Mail for that. And there's a really, really good chance. I can't actually confirm it, but there is a really good chance, and I think a lot of people in the security industry have known this for a long time, that Proton Mail is bullshit. And now they're moving to Germany, and guess what? They don't have the same privacy protections they do now. In Switzerland, you could, a couple of years ago, you could literally say, yeah, if you subpoena that and you're successful, I can sue you. That's a problem on a couple of levels, both for law enforcement and for people that are mistreated by law enforcement. And you might understand why so many probation officers love to just try and work on my Linux computer, which, shit, I don't even have to fucking explain that to any of you. It's Greek to all of you, right? I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just kind of like, this is kind of why we do this stuff, is because we really are into this stuff, right? And yeah, I watched a bunch of probation officers sit there, fumble around, they shake their dicks in my face, they put me in handcuffs while they did it. This is my keyboard. Do you think some probation monkey can actually figure out how to use this? He didn't. And he got really frustrated, he got really pissed off, and he came back 2 days later with a fucking hit squad. That probation officer was literally instated a week before I magically got put on an ankle bracelet right after my ex-wife sent all that shit to my first probation officer, then sent me through family court. My first probation officer said, yeah, that's not even gonna fucking happen. I won't even sign off on that. I went through divorce court, and then suddenly there's a man named Stephen Lammy, and I wanna make sure everybody knows who the fuck Stephen Lammy is. Because he not only did that, he not only pulled that stunt to get me on the ankle bracelet, he pulled all this fucking dick waving shit in my face. I have the form. He tried to send me to fucking prison at the end of my sentence. So I would literally end up there and then say, oh shit, you don't have anything left to do. Get in a fucking bus and die. Right? Because that's something that Nevada is kind of famous for right now, right? They go, anywhere but here. Let me put you on a bus. And guess where those people end up? Hey, it's right here. Literally. There was a whole fucking thing about it. It's not the first time people have done this. Let me put it that way. So, again, it's kind of this thing where, shit, that's a lot of coincidences. My phone is arguably tapped. I am seeing really weird shit on the internet. Really weird shit. I'm like, I wonder if somebody actually tapped my shit and then wired it up to AI and said, hey, let's fuck with him a lot. Because, God, what would happen? Oh, he might kill himself. Now, I am bipolar and I have a long history of suicide attempts. I'm not proud of it. I also am horny as fuck. That's who I am. I'm not even ashamed of it. And that's why I started seeing a lot, and I mean a lot, of women saying, oh, hey, maybe you should look at me. Maybe you should hit on me. Maybe you should show me your interest. And I'm like, bitch, I am done with this shit for a while. I didn't say it like that. I just kind of moved on, right? Just kind of ignored it, right? Because I'm not that kind of a person. And it got worse. I'm like, wow, these girls literally want me to make a move on them so they can say, fuck you. Don't they? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with all this going on, right? And what would I do if I got told fuck you enough and maybe my ex-wife showed up with one of these dudes and they were all fucking each other, right? Well, a lot of these guys are in the men's circle, aren't they? Wow, they all look like they might be ex-military or police officers. Wow. None of the guys that are whining about their lives do look like that. And that's when everybody on my fucking block, from here to Lakeshore, had a dog. Everybody. And that's when I started reading about something called Flock, and we can talk really quickly about Flock. Flock is a literally total, we're going to surveil every fucking thing on the planet in this region, right? Everybody's been having the conversations about, hey, are license plate readers cool? They kind of are, they kind of aren't, right? And some of us are like, hey, this is going to get worse. And that's exactly what Flock is. Now, could you imagine that Flock, at least on some level, might actually be really easy to do with a bunch of animals that have amazing noses and can be trained trivially. And that's about the time where my roommate was literally freaking out because I did not move out before my birthday. And I was trying to contest residency. I called Bay Area Legal Aid. I called Rubicon. I called Saucil Creek. I called Season of Sharing. I called all of these places and I said, please fucking help me. And they all said, go to hell. Or they just didn't answer the phone, right? Again, need to emphasize that I have been having very weird conversations with tons of people on the phone where I never am able to call them and they call me. Okay, so where it gets really crazy, I had to move. But I got that job right before I was literally like, holy shit, when is this going to happen? I bought a tent and I left it down at Lake Merritt. And you want to know why? Because money came in the next day. Like, is this some kind of fucked up game? And I did. I grabbed that tent and I put a note on it. I said, Oakland loves you, or some shit like that, right? And I left it right down on the bench down there, right? Because, yeah, some of those people probably do need shit like that. And I would rather help them than some self-centered asshole named Dave Waterbury who literally runs tax scams for other people. Well, I'm not going to name any other names. You can all figure it out yourself. I know. Anyway. Let's continue, because Alilo suddenly got a huge grant from NLNet. Or did they? Because only one of the engineers actually got that grant, didn't he? And that guy is a very skilled engineer. He built a ton of things, but really, like, wow, this all came up overnight, didn't it? NLNet is really important in the whole freedom and privacy grant space, because NLNet actually singles out important projects and says, here is actually a bunch of money to finish this thing. So everybody really respects NLNet, because they are over there in Europe fighting the fight that we should have been fighting 20 years ago. That's when a bunch of people said, hey, here are some people at the Electronic Frontier Foundation that you should probably talk to. Right? So I move in here with this guy named Jason Rica. I didn't actually move in with here. He helped me move, and I was really appreciative of that. But I noticed that everything in my stuff was being continually repacked by this guy named Javi, right? And another guy, I didn't get his name, but I paid for the movers, right? I was happy to do it. And Jason was able to figure that out really quickly because he works in construction for this thing called the Oakland Heritage Builders. And we talked about voting systems. When we first talked, I didn't even think like Oakland Heritage Builders, maybe that's a local organization, right? No, it's about construction. And I live in an apartment where it's extremely rent controlled, with a roommate who is still technically on the lease, and a bunch of close neighbors who seem to think I'm the Antichrist or something, because they're making it their personal fucking mission to make my life as terrible as possible. I don't know. But Jason Riga is also a football star, right? And I am named Eric Hollinsby. And there is only one fucking Eric Hollinsby on this planet, except that there is a guy in... Look it up. Look up some old pictures of me. You can see my teeth. You'll get it. Now, what if I said there was a guy named Jason Riga? Some of you may know him. Another guy named Shazwat Shah. You're starting to get this, right? Look these people up. There are two pictures. And yes, I'm not going to sit there and say, wow, these people clearly spearfish this. But yeah, there's a guy that looks almost exactly like me in Arizona buying tons of real estate. My ex-wife and all of her friends have been studying real estate for years. And yeah, they are all Chinese. Now, God, I didn't walk into this thinking this would happen, did I? Why would a former well-known drug dealer who is also a tantric sex instructor or whatever, who literally knows jack shit about technology, is constantly surrounded by a ton of extremely hot women and has talked about Bitcoin for the last 10 fucking years, and has talked about, oh, my dad is super fucking wealthy. I have an inheritance that I can't get at. Oh, God, I have an ex-wife and a young child. and my ex-wife is Russian as fuck. And it's like, okay, yeah. Do I even need to spell this out? So, my ex-wife, who may be extremely wealthy, and oh yeah, her uncle is literally a guy that builds Chinese spy planes. My whole family is Marine Corps. Yeah, you're getting it. Yesterday, somebody fired me, and I was literally in the perfect place on the planet to totally jump off a building. And yeah, I barely have enough to make rent. Wow, that's convenient, because my Schwab account just got canceled this month, which means it was awful strange how it just really got canceled, right after I went through all this shit, right? I had that Schwab account for 15 years. Could it be related? I don't know. So when I went to go pay my lease for this place, I tried to get a money order. It was a huge fucking disaster. And that's when I went down to the Schwab right here. It's at the Marquetta building. Right here. You can see it right there. It's right in the middle. And I said, hey, can I get this done? And that's when a nice Chinese lady, and God, I really don't want to sound racist here. God, I feel terrible about it, honestly. She said, okay, I'll call a manager. And every time she called, she said, check the notes. I'm like, what the fuck is this about? And then I sat there for another 20 minutes, and she was calling the manager. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out and have a cigarette, because I do smoke a lot, right? And I come back in, I'm like, are we connected yet? No. Let me call again. Check the notes. I wait for a little more. And there are 30 people coming in. They're getting all their shit done really fast. This is probably all on video. And she said, I'm like, okay, I really need to get this done. I'm trying to move in this apartment. I got all these movers lined up. WTF, right? And she says, okay, wait in this room and I'll have them call. And that's when I see 30 more people come in here and work with this teller. And she is flying through it. And all month I've been sitting here saying, how the hell can I stop calling Schwab and dealing with fraud checks? Check the notes, right? That's when I said, hey, what the hell is going on here? And another nice older Asian lady said, hey, you need to get the fuck out of here or we're going to call the cops. Okay, wow, that's really odd. I invite you to maybe ask for the tape from Charles Schwab. Starting to get this? Who is sitting right under one of the biggest crypto companies in the world. Go take a look at Dave Waterbury's picture. Now, I'm going to leave this right here because this is what's going on. I'm going to upload this. I'm going to upload this to YouTube. And then I'm going to walk right down here. Right down here. And I'm going to talk about the project that we want to do this weekend, which is, hey, I'm going to cook a bunch of food for the homeless people out there and say, hey, we love you. Maybe invite some of them up to the roof and say, this is a beautiful view and you deserve it too. I'm literally going to do that, kind of saying, hey, shit is really fucked up. And that's when somebody walked out of the Lark this morning after I've been hearing dogs. Are they fucking? Are they dying? Is somebody killing them? I'm like, well, okay, I'm just going to fucking listen to this. Holy shit. And a man in full fatigues in the middle of fucking Oakland, all by himself, walks out of the Lark and just disappears. Maybe that's kind of weird, and maybe that might be on camera somewhere. I don't fucking know. But if you did know, last weekend was Coachella, and there was a ton of shit going on here at the Lark on 24th Street. I saw a bunch of stars, but I also saw Priscilla Chan. I'm like, okay, this is weird because I applied for something called the Zuckerberg Chan Initiative. I don't know, like 12, 13 years ago, I needed a job. Now, Priscilla Chan, it's kind of weird. She kind of looks a lot like my ex-wife. And you're going to have to discover that yourself because I can't even name her. So, again, I have given you all the facts that I have available to me, and I am so, honestly, I mean, it's probably pretty obvious, psychologically fucked up about this. So I am really just saying, please, somebody else figure this out. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to walk down the street. I am a little worried about my safety. And you should be too. Because if they could do this to me, oh fuck. Yeah, I have really gone through it. Like, I don't even want to get into half of it. It's scary. I love all of you. And I really do try to love all of you. You do not cross me like this and not expect a response.